Okay, so what I'm working on here is the chair rocker, and find all my PPE here and get cutting. Okay, so obviously I'm just taking off a bunch of wood here. You can see this was a piece of pressure treated 4x6. Here's the layout of the rocker, and I'm just trying to get off as much as I can with this saw so that I can then of course use the bandsaw. So that's what I'm doing now. And you can see the grain here on the end. I'm trying to use not the heartwood, I'm trying to use this part, and I picked a piece of wood that has tight grain, meaning, you know, the tree grew slowly, and so it has tighter grain, and it was out of an older pile at the lumber yard so that it was drier. I didn't want wet wood because you don't know what it's going to do later on, right? I also didn't want a lot of cracking or checking, so you don't see a lot of that. So the next cut I'm going to do is to reduce it down in width. And I think I'm actually going to go ahead and draw that on the other side here. Well, no, I don't want to. I think what I'll do is I'll make a cut here. See, it's got this little flaw right here. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably make a cut here, and then I'll draw it out again on there. Okay, so this is going to be my layout right here. I'm going to go ahead and lay this out. And this should be perfect for the for the grain in the wood, because this way you don't have the heartwood. Does that make sense? So you see that? This is going to be your piece right here, not the heartwood, but just next to it. Yeah, so I'll do some more cutting out. I got to fix the batteries on the camera. All right, so this is the bandsaw that I got in Pennsylvania. I think Dad went up with me to pick it up. And I put this other guard on it. I found this aftermarket guide, and then got this new blade on it. So let's see how it works. have to finish up, you know, obviously with the sander like I've been doing. I'm not very good with a bandsaw, I'll be honest. I'm much better with a table saw. So this is interesting. So I'll keep going with this, and I'll show you the finished project or product. Well, here is the finished product. This is the one of them anyway. And I've got it clamped next to an original. And I've got the hole here drilled for the front. But this one is going to need a different, it's going to need a block on the back to take up for the rotten piece over here. I'll show you. So there's the other runner there. That just popped right on there. You know, I just drilled the holes and it just duplicates the other one. It's heavier and it's pressure treated. And then here's the other issue. This was the leg that was rotten. See that? So I kind of got a hole saw and kind of straightened it up, but it's about an inch or so, about an inch and a quarter shorter, you know, than that one to the right there. So I'm going to put this block of oak right there. Nice block of really heavy duty oak. I'm going to put the router on my router table that I made. Router and router table. And I'm going to take that little block of oak and put a little rounding over on it, make it look nice, and then screw it in place on the new runner. And then I'm going to bore the hole in it. And yeah, I'll take a video later of that. So that's how it's going. All right, so after some sanding, that's the piece. And I think that's going to work. It's got a few little cracks in it, but it's pretty hardy wood. And I believe that's going to do it. All right, so I've got this piece set there where I want it. I've got these drilled so that I can use these little plugs to plug the holes later on. And I'm just going to use these construction screws. They self-tap and they're good for the pine. I drilled the holes straight through the oak so that there's no, they're not fighting each other. Don't need to make it any harder than it needs to be. Hopefully this, I'm not drilling any pilot holes because of the soft nature of the wood. Let's see how well it works. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oops. Really high tech here. Okay, so that's basically that. I'll wait to put the plugs in until I'm sure it's right. Those will sit in there like that with a little bit of glue, or you just tap them in. Now comes the fun part. Now I have to lay this out to drill this and the right size for that. So what I'm going to do, probably just going to eyeball it. I'm going to basically, this goes in at an angle like that. So I need to I could transfer that angle, but I'm just going to kind of eyeball it up because it's got a hole in the middle of it down there where there was a screw. So if I can just hold that like that, if I can, then I can duplicate that like this. So that line is basically right in line with the middle of that hole. So now I just need to get the halfway point, and that'll be the center. These are 2 1/4, so it'll be 1 1/8. It should be about halfway, right here. That should be where I want to drill for the one hole that's a different size. Okay, so basically the piece that I've got to go in here was created from the inside of this hole saw. So obviously that's not a standard size. This is a 1 3/16 outside diameter hole saw. Inside diameter is just about 1 inch. But what I was left with was a little bit more than 1 inch. So I'm not sure I could do 1 inch and then just kind of sand some of that down. I think is what I'm going to have to do. Yeah, there's no other, I don't have any other way. I've got 1 1/8 paddle bit, which is too big. I've got a Forstner bit, which is a 1 inch, and I have an 1 1/4 or 1 1/2 Forstner. I think I'm going to use this spade bit for 1 inch. And it's going to be a little bit too small. But I can kind of hog it out with the drill, and I can also use sandpaper on the male part that's going in there. So this is really hard oak. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but let's see. So not very well. Not working very well. I might need to go over to the drill press, or I don't know. Maybe you have to sharpen that bit. Okay, so this little piece, where'd it go? my little piece of oak. And I wasn't sure, you know, I mentioned there were little cracks in it. So I took it to the bandsaw and I profiled it. But when I tightened these down, it cracked a little more. And I'm sure it would work fine because it's really, really stout wood. But I went ahead and cut a piece of this off of the waste, you know, from cutting these, because the profile is pretty close. So I just went ahead and used a piece of pine, and now I marked it up. And this is going to be, so I marked up where the where that post is going to go, whatever you call that. I'm not a chair maker, I don't know what you call that. But I'm going to go ahead and get this sucker ready here. So this bit obviously needs a little work. It needs to be sharpened. I think they're made in China now. I don't know. These things used to be pretty good. They look the same, but they're, you know, not quite the same. So I have this Forstner bit. Maybe I'll just try using that because this is a nice bit. Let's try that. Yeah, that does a nice job. Okay, I'll try that now. Okay, well here is the finished product, I guess, but obviously unfinished, you know, needs to be painted. So there's the one runner that, so the left side runner was okay to begin with, but obviously I'm going to replace both because they're not going to be the same at that point. And here's the one here that I've had to kind of work it with that block. So yeah, that worked out pretty well. That's all it takes. Now I just need to figure out, you know, you got to put a screw from the bottom up into each of the legs. So that's pretty straightforward. I should be able to do that. And then I'll have my rocking chair back. Okay, so here's the one runner, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call these, rockers, installed. You can see I've put the screw in. There we go. So what I do is I just make a mark and it just goes right down into the, there we go. Make a mark straight up, across, and then go halfway. And there you go. Put your countersunk screw in. There we go. And it holds it on. And I'll do the other side now. That's the side there that's got the funky piece on it. Okay, well here is the finished product, and there's where the leg was rotten. That's the piece I had to kind of work around there. Put that little piece on there. I ended up making it out of pine, like the rest of the runner, and not that oak. There's the other one. There. It's got some paint on it, spray paint, and I tried to tighten up the screws on this chair. You know, it's one of those things that's put together, I guess, in a kit. I don't remember putting this one together though. I think this one came assembled. So that's not bad. Those are pressure treated. Yeah, I sat in it, you know, of course it works. And there's the old runner, one of them anyway, the one that didn't break. Yeah, so for $13, get a few more years out of this old chair.